Okay, welcome back. Quality Chess vlog number 9. We have been gone so long you thought you had got rid of us, but Nikos, we're still here.
Happy New Year, Jacob.
Well, I think this year will be happier for you than for me, but let's see.
Yeah.
Let's dive straight into the chess. There's a lot of interesting things happening that you can read about everywhere. Richard Vapor won against Carlsen. He also completely outplayed Wesley So. Caruana is 8.6 rating points from Carlsen by doing nothing. And that will probably have changed by the time you've formatted this. So with all these news things, I think we're going to let them go generally here. And let's focus on some things that don't change, which is how do you play chess well? So I have chosen 2 positions, and you have chosen 2 positions. So yep. What if I start with 1, and you get your 2, and then I get mine at the end?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay, so this position here is from a game between Jeffrey Chong and Lucas van Forest from the Wijk aan Zee tournament. And, well, I could make it a puzzle and say whites to move, and then everyone has a chance. But black played knight f3 here, and white played king h1. Black played knight e5, and white took it. And now, puzzle time, Nikos. Recapture. Which one? I can help you. It's not the rook.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not sure, it's so bad, but it's not the rook.
So it's a simple positional question, I presume?
It's yes, in my terminology, it's what I would call a simple decision, probably.
Yeah, my first instinct is to take with the pawn, because I don't know, later I can play e4 and open up the bishop.
What if I play e4?
Yeah, it's quite good reply. Yeah. So I have to take with the bishop, right?
No, because it's a slight inconvenience that I'm threatening knight e3, knight d5, or knight to c4 or something. It doesn't mean it's automatically going to happen. He took with the bishop in the game, and he was just worse and struggled. And in the end, he could maybe have held piece down in the ending, but he made some mistake. I think he played a bit too fast at some point, and he just lost. But it's difficult to know when the critical moments are. When you're defending, the critical moment is the moment where you make a mistake. It's not something you can predict so easily in advance. But try to take with the pawn here. So first of all, if black gets to play e4,
yes,
his position is fine. So e4 is the only move I would fear. And here the rook e d8, very natural. Bring the rook to the open file. Maybe queen c2. And rook d4. Not even sure it's necessary. There's also bishop h6 is a serious option. Yeah, just with the idea of taking. But here I think there's some counterplay, or we can even maybe play bc4 before we play rook d4. Play here, and then if b takes, then maybe rook d1 and queen b2. If queen takes, then basically rook d4. Yeah, and generally I think black's just fine-ish. He will have to play active. Maybe he'll play bishop h6 at some point, as I said. His pieces are playing. The idea of white suddenly putting the knight on c4 and having total control over everything, without black having played a4 or queen c6 and forcing some concessions. I don't think it's going to happen. Well, in the game after bishop takes e5, really black has no play. Here white can play slowly and build up. Black doesn't have any counterplay. I'm not really sure what he played, but here even the move like a4 is possible. And then if takes, and take back with the pawn, and then put a rook on b5, and probably would take an a4, but take with the pawn, and then put a rook on b5, and white's better. But I think actually he just maneuvered the knight around, knight e1, knight f3, knight d2, and slowly just improved his position, because black doesn't have real counterplay. He can maybe exchange some pawns on the queen side, but the weakness of the d6 pawn is permanent. The e file is totally useless. There's no attacking prospects on the king side. And the bishop is bad because it doesn't have a function. It will eventually, he lost it. He gave it up. But people can go for the full game in the PGN file. So let's move on to see what you got, because you got some positional stuff as well, I understand.
I think there's another position that you sent me.
That was mine. Yeah, well, that was going to be last, but let's do it now then. Mm-hmm. I thought this was just a moment of near pure genius from Daniel Friedman against Kovalenko. So in this position here, black is trying to eliminate the white center, and he's very close to doing so. And we should have the moment of stop the video, think for 5-10 minutes yourself, use this as an exercise. How should white continue? And then we're going to do a countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're back. And the way white reacted here was rook ac1. I thought that was a really lovely move. And the computer here, don't put it in, but the computer says e5, knight d3, d6, and black sort of hanging on, maybe cb5, c5, trying sacrificing a pawn. It doesn't look great, but it just shows how bad the position is. Kovalenko, he actually went for it. He took on c4, and queen takes, and cd5. And it's a lovely combination. Queen takes c7, rook takes, and knight takes d5. And must take back, I think, and take again. And must take on c1, rook's hanging. And it's just catastrophe here. The point of it is, if you play ed5, you come with rook c7. And rook a7 and bishop d5. And it just doesn't work for black. Knight c6, for example. Doesn't really matter, rook d7. Everything falls. So, yeah, in the game he played, I think, bishop c6. But his position is horrible. You can play many things here. I'm not sure I remember what he actually did, but knight e7 should win. Knight b4 he played. Same story. And he slowly improves the position. And pawn up. I'm not sure exactly what rook c3 was about. Getting the king out to e7, but it's a pawn up, and it's a extremely strong grandmaster, and he won the game. I'm sure someone will go through the rest and find out that he played it horribly. Now that he say he just won, but we shall not concern ourselves with that. Let's see what you got for us.
Yeah, I spent the past 2 weeks finishing my next book, which is
Yay!
it is the sequel of Playing 1 e4 e5, but this time the book is called Playing 1 d4 d5. It is a repertoire for black, and when you're playing the Queen's Gambit declined for the black side, you cannot avoid some basic structures like the isolated queen's pawn and of course the hugging pawns. And I studied many positions of hugging pawns and IQPs and so on, and I found this positional idea that, and I showed it to many people, and none found the correct continuation for black. And this is the most typical position of this positional idea.
So we'll do our magic again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn off the video. Think for a few minutes. Improve your chess. And we're back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, explain the idea now.
Yeah, this is an almost optimal position for black, because in the hanging pawns, if you do not have many pieces, you cannot attack. But still, white has some ideas here, like g4, g5, rook d3, rook g3, and so on. And in all these ideas, the main piece that helps white is the knight on e5. So Kazmitshanov here with black played knight h7. It was white's move. He played rook d3, and now it came black's move knight h7. And the idea is that f6 will come, and it is not very easy to evaluate the position after f6 because there is a weak pawn on e6. But the main feature of the position is the knight. So if the knight goes away, the pawn on e6 can easily be covered, and white will be left with weaknesses. What happened in this game? The Romanian Grandmaster Rogozenko plays with white. He showed that f6 was coming and an exchange of queens, and he thought that, okay, if the queens get exchanged, I will at least have a passed pawn in the endgame. But what Kazmitshanov played here was fantastic. He played knight f6 back, rook to c1, knight f5, and then f6 came. And black is much better. So the main idea...
You can find the game in the PTN file.
Yeah, and I searched this kind of hugging pawns scenarios, and I found that many times this f6 idea is what black should aim for. This is a correspondence game where g5 was played. It was not an obvious idea for me. And then the following moves were seen, and f6, and here black is simply better because the king side is absolutely safe, and white has only some weaknesses on the hugging pawns, and there is no play against the king. So this was not something that I found in the manuals about hugging pawns, and I thought that it's quite interesting.
Well, it would be quite disappointing if you are not able to add anything to the understanding of these positions since you write a book.
Yeah, I was not expecting to do so because, that hugging pawns is something that has been studied a lot by generations of chess players. So, yeah,
I can always find a detail. It's I think people who think chess is played out, they're widely underestimating how difficult the game is.
Sure.
So I hope these were a few things that could help people's chess. I hope you took the chance to actually sit down and think about some of these positions. And what do you think, Nikos? Do you think they have seen enough of us already?
Yeah, certainly.
At least for this week, yeah?
Yes. Next week again.
We'll be back next week.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.